Hello and welcome to StoryBoard. This is Shibani Gharat. But before we begin the show, let's take a look at what was hot and happening this week in the world of advertising. In a run-up to the Lok Sabha elections, the Election Commission has sought a ban on political advertising on social media and digital platforms in the final 48 hours before the elections. At present, Section 126 of the Representation of People Act prevents electronic media from airing political advertising in the silent period before elections. The EC is said to have written to the Law Ministry suggesting to extend the provisions under Section 126 to digital and print media as well. In related news, Facebook has restricted external agencies from accessing and scrutinizing its political ads for transparency by changing its codes. The clampdown on third-party agencies comes ahead of the 2019 elections in India and after announcing fresh steps in December to increase transparency of political ads to prevent foreign forces from influencing the election outcome. On its part, Facebook said the changes were part of crackdown on third-party plugins. British advertising tycoon Sir Martin Sorrell has been asked to repay about £170,000 in personal expenses to WPP, according to the Wall Street Journal. The report said the former WPP chief had charged a ski trip travel for his wife and child and items for an apartment in New York to WPP over a number of years, and that WPP is seeking further reimbursement for other expenses as well. In April last year, Sorrell stepped down from WPP after 33 years over accusations of misusing company funds. And finally, let's take a look at the measures announced for the media and entertainment sector by Finance Minister Piyush Goyal in his interim budget. Acknowledging India's love for Bollywood, Goyal announced measures to boost Indian filmmaking and fight piracy in interim budget. Goyal announced that single window clearance for ease of shooting films, which was earlier only available to foreign filmmakers, will now be available for Indian filmmakers as well. In a bid to fight movie piracy, Goyal also said that anti-camcorder provisions would be introduced soon.
Entertainment industry is a major employment generator. To promote entertainment industry, single window clearance for ease of shooting films, earlier available only to foreigners, is now going to be made available to Indian filmmakers as well.
Now let's get on with the rest of the show. In a television exclusive to StoryBoard's Ankita Saxena, worldwide chairman and CEO of Mediacom, Stephen Allan, speaks about his excitement for the Indian market, and he also tells us why Mediacom doesn't call itself a media agency anymore.
With a career spanning over 3 decades in the business of media, he has a pulse on what the clients want and the changing media landscape. I have with me worldwide chairman and CEO of Mediacom, Stephen Allan. Stephen, welcome to CNBC TV 18.
Thank you for having me.
So Stephen, tell us what brings you to India. It's a rather short trip, so what's on the agenda?
We have a new CEO here in India, Navin Khemka, and I thought I'd better come and check in on him, see how he's getting on. So it is a relatively short trip, but it's part of a wider Asia tour that I've been on in China and Japan and Australia. So now heading westwards back. And I always love coming to India. It's a really important market for us.
Okay. Stephen, tell me, with media fragmentation and proliferation of digital platforms like Facebook and Google, and then there are these consultancies like Accenture stepping into your turf, how does a media agency keep itself relevant? I mean, you have rechristened yourself from a media agency to content plus connections agency.
Content and connections, that's correct. That's what I love about my job, and this is my 37th year in Mediacom and 10th year running it globally, and the truth of the matter is that we have to constantly reinvent ourselves. So, you know, if I go back to when I first started, all we really had to think about was a few television channels and a bit of radio and a few newspapers, and of course then there was something that came along called the internet. That made us rethink everything, and what we see every time is it brings around a whole new generation of specialists. So agencies rise up who specialise in whatever the newest thing is. So, you know, at the time it would be internet and search, then move on mobile, and now social media, content, and all these different areas. And every time that happens, it's always a wake-up call for us. And we get our act together. We evolve. We hire people with new knowledge from different areas. And I think actually the important point here is that what our clients want is they don't want lots of people giving them lots of different answers. They want one answer, one solution, I should say, one joined up answer to a business challenge. And therefore it's important that we are absolutely on top of all of these new developments so that we are relevant.
You know, in the morning I was reading this article which said that Facebook and Google, who have till now enjoyed the lion's share of ad spends, are faced with stiff competition from digital platforms like Hotstar and Daily Hunt. So it's a hugely fragmented market, and so is the media measurement now. How do you help a marketer navigate this treacherous terrain?
We have a lot of data that goes behind what we do and the advice and the recommendations that we give. I think in a bizarre and ironic way, and I'll go back to your previous question, the more complex and fragmented the media marketplace becomes, in a sense, the more advertisers need specialist advice from companies like us to help navigate their way through it. So we're not worried about that. We know an awful lot about these platforms, about the people that are using them, and I think the important point here is that Google or Facebook have very, very deep knowledge about their own platforms, more than anybody else could ever have. I think what we bring is that wider perspective. So what we understand is the whole spectrum of these platforms, and therefore giving our clients very objective and independent advice about the best way to talk to and communicate with their audiences.
Okay. You know, I was speaking to a marketer and he once told me that good content is screen agnostic. However, I mean, you know, that doesn't, you know, really fit in the real world. You know, one size doesn't fit all. You can't take a 30-second commercial, squash it and shove it onto any screen. So how can a brand, how can a client use content intelligently? And do you think there's too much money being spent on content that's not appropriate for the medium?
Yeah, I don't know if that was one of our clients. I hope not, because I disagree with that.
No, not one of your clients.
Okay, good, because I don't think content is agnostic. And you know, the simple example of that would be, imagine a brilliant piece of content with a great music track. And then think about the way that we use Facebook with the sound switched off often.
Yeah.
So that's no longer a great piece of content if you can't hear that great music track.
True.
So we talk about at Mediacom feed-ready content, which means having the right format for a particular platform. So in the case of Facebook, for example, because you mentioned them, it needs to be short, to the point, 5-6 seconds. It needs to work without the sound being on, and it needs to be relevant. And the second point, therefore, is that in this world that you talked about before, with all these different platforms and all these different choices, we can highly target audiences. What's the point in doing that if we pinpoint these people with different platforms and then serve them all the same message? So we need to have very relevant messages, and we talk about reach, which is reaching the right people, relevance, and then reaction. And and that's about catching people at the right moment in their day when they might actually have time to react.
Yeah. So speaking of content, and now one of your clients, P&G.
Yes.
P&G's male grooming brand Gillette was, you know, recently in the news for its new commercial, which gained a lot of, say, negative sentiments on social media. Do you think in a day and age where consumers have a platform where they can vent their ire and they're so powerful, shouldn't the brands be more careful of the content they put out? And what does a negative publicity do to a brand's image in the long run?
The answer to your last question is it can be very destructive. So some brands are prepared to take a risk and some aren't. And the brands that take risks, sometimes it pays off and sometimes it can be catastrophic. I think, you know, there's no one perfect answer to that, because in truth, you mentioned Gillette before. Some people, men, let's talk about men, some men would resonate with it and like it, and some would not. I think what they've done in the case of Gillette is stimulate a debate. So they've kind of brought a debate, they've elevated a debate, and they have their reasons for maybe wanting to do that.
You spoke about a more targeted messaging, what you mentioned in your answer. So with the messaging becoming so targeted and the more personalized the medium is going to be, programmatic is going to play, programmatic buying and selling will play a major role. So that will also amplify a client's concerns over ad placement. You know, where is the ad placed in the right kind of environment, right to the next, to the right kind of content. So who is going to take charge of that? Will it be the media agency? Is the publisher responsible for it, or is the digital agency? Who will take charge of that?
I don't think that companies like Google can masquerade as being technology platforms and therefore it's not their responsibility. They have to provide safe environments, not just think about advertisers, they have to provide safe environments for their own users, right? So it's not like there's a divergent responsibility there. It's kind of one and the same. So yes, we're there representing our clients. We will put in place as much, we have a lot of technology that's available now to help reduce risk. I don't think there is such a thing as risk-free. Also, in the near future, do we see traditional media also, like television and radio, also trading programmatically? It's starting to happen. I mean, I've seen it in other markets. I mean, radio is one example of that. We are seeing television traded programmatically in some other markets, the UK and the US, but it's really around not linear, so not old-fashioned TV, but addressable TV, which requires set-top boxes, cable boxes that are sending data both ways. I think more broadly, are we going to see all media traded programmatically? Eventually, yes, but once it becomes addressable. Stephen, transparency is a big buzzword globally. Clients want transparency. So what role will blockchain play in that, and what impact will it have in the next 2 to 4 years? I think at the moment we're all learning around blockchain. I mean, we've certainly got within Group M and Mediacom teams of people looking at that to see how it can be used intelligently in the digital ecosystem. We are enthusiastic about it because what it does is it democratizes, for want of a better word, it democratizes the digital ecosystem, which at the moment for many people is too opaque. And what blockchain does is really put the ownership of it, or the stewardship of it, in the marketplace. So it's something that we're enthusiastic about. I think that it's going to take some time yet to evolve into really penetrating the markets. What are your predictions for media in 2019? Well, modest growth globally. We're predicting 3.5% advertising investment growth. But in India, much more excitingly, our forecast is for 13%. So India, on the back of strong GDP growth, still an emerging consumer economy. We're very optimistic. I'm bullish about India. I think it's an exciting market for us. It's a very important market, and it's one that's still got a lot of potential to fulfill. Look, one of the things, more than one thing that's going to be actually fueling that growth in India in 2019 you have an election coming up. That will always generate a lot of additional advertising revenue. And you also have the World Cup coming here, which is going to create a lot of interest. Obviously, it's a huge event. So I think those two things alone, let alone the annual IPL, which is such a big thing here in India. I just wish my country were better at cricket. Is really going to just only add to what would otherwise be, in any case, a very positive and growing year because of the things that we talked about earlier.
Lastly, how can brands grow themselves in this coming year?
They need to invest in the top line and stop just trying to grow by cutting costs, because that does not work in the long term. It's not sustainable, and you're not really growing your brand or your business, you're just reducing costs. So I'm a hugely passionate, big believer in brands. I want to see all advertisers, and certainly our clients, investing in the top line to grow their business, grow their sales and services and whatever else they do. So,
okay. All right. Thank you so much for joining us. Pleasure talking to you.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
StoryBoard, Ogilvy has announced the launch of 82.5 Communications. In fact, it has branded this new agency as an India-specific creative agency. What was the story or the thought behind this new agency? We have Shumanto Chattopadhyay and V.S. Srikanth answering this for us. Listen in. Shumanto, Srikanth, welcome to StoryBoard.
Thank you.
82.5, it sounds like a name of a radio station. What does it stand for really?
Actually, this should be a general knowledge quiz question, because every Indian should know it, because 82.5 is the longitude of Indian Standard Time.
Ah.
And we feel that since we are talking about an agency which is all about ingenious Indian ideas, about catering to Indian entrepreneurs and emerging Indian businesses, this was the perfect name.
Okay. You know, why did you decide for this new brand identity, and what was the thought behind it?
What we felt was that we wanted to, I think everybody needs to reinvent, and we wanted to reinvent ourselves in a manner that is much more relevant for today's India, for today's market. And we felt that this kind of a platform, open source kind of an approach is what was going to work. I'll let Srikanth elaborate on that.
Yeah, we feel that there is a very large segment of Indian entrepreneurs, Indian companies, large and small, who are seeking deep engagement from their creative agencies. And very often it's not just in that narrow space of mass media solutions. Okay, it isn't enough if you just give them a television spot or a radio spot or a print ad. They're asking questions which go back to mining consumer insights all the way to helping them chart the way for their brands and coming up with creative executions that span 360. So, and they want simplified through one brand lens, built by one set of people. They don't want to necessarily do multiple agency. They are seeking that simplicity, and we feel that we are the right agency to give them that kind of a deep partnership.
Okay, so how is, let's say, how is your day-to-day work going to change with this new change in approach, Shumanto?
So I think, so we have just changed to this new identity and new way of thinking. So what we are doing right now is we're in the process of tying up with various partners, because our idea is that we have a certain set of skills which reside in-house, but we ought to be able to give any kind of solution that when any of our clients want. So for example, it could be something like shopper marketing, or it could be online market research. Now we are not specialized in this, and we don't feel that it makes sense for us to invest in this kind of an expense to do this in-house. Whereas if we have a fantastic partner out there who will partner us in jointly delivering this solution to our client, then it makes us agile, it makes us cost effective, and I think we are the custodians of the brand. So we are the brand lens, and all of these different things will come to our clients through our brand lens. So we feel it's the best of both worlds.
Okay, and what will be the association with Ogilvy? Because previously Soho Square, in fact you guys sit in the same building, was strongly, as a brand, as a company, was strongly associated with the mother company Ogilvy. So what is 82.5's new association with Ogilvy going to be like?
So Ogilvy is our parent. That doesn't change. So we are an Ogilvy group company. We have got access to Ogilvy people, data, the best practices that Ogilvy has. So we have got access to all that. Yet we are on our own. So we are our own agency with our own identity, and that's the point of it, really.
You know, as I can see in all the branding right here, 82.5, it says ingenious Indian ideas. On the other side, Piyush Pandey has always spoken about having Indian ideas or Indian advertising or Indian nuances in whatever ads that you create. So how are you going to separate the two?
So I think that our pedigree is Ogilvy. So I think that we have all learned the essence of Indianness and how to put it into your work from Piyush. So that's our legacy. But I think that what we are looking at is going forward, and not just in a 30-second TVC. It could be anything. It could be in the middle of a play, we have the actors doing creating an ad for us live. Or it could be puppetry, it could be anything. I'm saying that we are not looking at only the traditional media, and we're not looking at your TVC and outdoor and radio spots. So I think we're going to be looking at Indianness in different creative media. And also I think one of the greatest inspiration for us was the Mangalyaan, the Mars mission. In fact, if we say that 82.5 is this new baby, then the mother of that is MUM. MUM is MOM, which is the Mars orbiter mission, which India put into space at like almost a tenth of the cost of what the US did.
Shivanto, since you mentioned Mangalyaan, is your agency going to draw probably inspiration from the Indian term Jugaad?
So I think that, in fact, there's been a lot of talk about this word Jugaad because it has positive and negative connotations. So because Mangalyaan was a super success, it was seen as a positive example of Jugaad. But when we say, we don't want to use the word Jugaad, we can, but sometimes people think it means like doing things on the fly without preparation. But I think that the Mangalyaan was about thorough preparation. Yeah. And yes, you have to react to situations and work around obstacles in your path, but you have to be very well prepared. So I think I would use the word Jugaad advisedly. That's why we prefer to say ingenious Indian ideas.
Shrikant, I want to know from you, how did your existing clients of Soho Square react to the new identity, the new approach, the new name?
Overwhelmingly positively. I think the clients loved it. I think this is a need that they've been feeling for a very long time. So I think it fell on willing ears. They've been waiting for something like this for a very long time. Yeah, absolutely. I'm just saying, I think all our existing clients are thrilled with the new identity and the new thinking that we are going to represent.
Okay, so if I were to ask the two of you in one line, if I were a client and you have to pitch your agency in one sentence, what would that be?
I would say that you want an agile, new age partner who promises and delivers ingenious Indian ideas to solve your, because we are in India, those are the problems that we have, and these are the kind of solutions that we'll give you.
What about you?
Most effective ideas shop you can think of.
All
you have
right.
a problem, we are the guys to give you the ideas.
All right, thank you so much. Thanks for speaking to us.
Thank you.
And finally, let's talk about the newest baby from our network. 8 years after launching Firstpost.com, Network 18 unveiled its first weekly newspaper. The Viewspaper, as it's called, hit Delhi NCR and Mumbai on January 26, that is the Republic Day. Volume 1 of Network 18's first newspaper, Firstpost, recently hit the stands on India's 70th Republic Day. It is a 20-page broadsheet that will appear every Saturday and shall cater to readers in Mumbai and New Delhi. Firstpost will emphasize on narrative, long-format journalism with a focus on national politics, culture and art, and being a mix of hard and soft feature news. Firstpost will be edited by B.V. Rao and Praveen Swami.
We actually don't say we are going to print. What we are saying is we are taking the Firstpost experience to various areas, platforms, mediums. You will soon see that we will set up Firstpost clubs where we will have events, people will come, we will have all kinds of experiences for the reader. It's not just one passive Firstpost throwing content at you and you consuming it. So we want that to be more a content experience, right? A connection that we want to make with readers.
With a strong and vibrant design, the newspaper has been designed by Jack Utko. It is positioned as a weekend read and comes with the tagline, "The last word in the news."
Hurly-burly of daily news, there's enough and more content coming your way. What's really missing is somebody with a thoughtful attitude, digesting all the news, digesting all the the noise on the news horizon, and distilling it for you, taking a insightful understanding of what's really behind the news.
With that, it's a wrap on StoryBoard this week. You can catch all of our content on Facebook, Twitter and YouTube. Thanks for watching, and we'll be back same time next week. See you soon.